Have you ever just stopped for a second and thought about the invisible network that makes your entire day possible? You know, the clean water that comes out of the tap, the bus you might take to work, or the education that kind of shapes who you become? Today, we're going to dive into the world of public services, and we're using a Sri Lankan civic education textbook as our guide to really understand this essential framework that holds society together.
So to kick things off, what do these everyday things really have in common? Just think about it for a moment. What's the deep connection here?
All right, so on the one hand, you've got this really bustling bus station, right? It's a hub for public transport. And on the other, you've got an electrical power station, which is basically the heart of our energy grid. The common thread? Well, they are both absolutely crucial public services, part of this huge network that's designed to support every single one of us.
So, that gets us to the big question. What exactly do we mean when we say public services? Let's nail down a really clear foundational definition.
According to our source material, this is the core idea. And what's interesting is, it's not just about the government. The private sector can play a role too. But the main objective, the whole point, is always the same: to improve the quality of life for everyone.
And this picture just perfectly illustrates the scope we're talking about. We're talking fundamental building blocks of life, like clean water from a water tower, the healthcare system that keeps us all going, and the education that empowers the next generation.
This brings us to a really fundamental question. Why are these services even necessary in the first place? I mean, why can't we just handle all this stuff on our own?
Well, the answer is actually pretty simple when you think about it. Can you seriously imagine building your own power grid or trying to run a citywide bus system all by yourself? No way. Some challenges are just way too big for one person. They need a collective effort.
Now, what's really fascinating here is how it breaks down why we need them. Sure, it's about convenience, making our daily lives easier, but it goes so much deeper. It's about fairness, offering relief to low-income earners and making sure there's social justice. And this is huge. It's the very backbone of the economy. Businesses just can't function without reliable power, transport, and communication.
And here's the thing. These services aren't all delivered in the same way. It's useful to think of it kind of like a spectrum. On one end, you have services like public education, which are usually funded by taxes and are free to use. In the middle, you have things like water or public transport, which are often subsidized to keep them affordable for everyone. And then, on the other end, you've got services you pay for directly as a user. It's this kind of mixed model that helps societies balance both access and cost.
You know, this whole concept is not new at all. In fact, as we're about to see, the idea of public service has been evolving for centuries.
This timeline from our source is just amazing. If you go way back to around 350 AD, ancient Sri Lankan kings were building huge irrigation tanks and even appointing doctors for villages. Then, much later, the British came and introduced more modern transport and postal services, mostly to help them run things. And then, bam, 1945. A huge moment, the establishment of free education, a policy that is still so important today.
And this is the man right here, Dr. C.W.W. Kanangara. He's known as the father of free education in Sri Lanka, and this act completely transformed the nation. It established education not as some privilege for the wealthy, but as a fundamental public service and a right for every single citizen.
Okay, so now let's zoom in from that big historical picture and take a closer look at two of the most vital services there are: water and health.
First up, let's talk about the one resource that is essential for all life on this planet: water.
Okay, get ready for this number, because it is truly staggering. Even though, 70% of our planet is covered in water, less than 1% of it is actually available for us to drink. Less than 1%! That scarcity alone tells you just how critical it is to manage it properly. And this right here illustrates the point perfectly. Providing clean, safe water is a massive challenge. The resources aren't spread out evenly, pollution is a constant threat, and then you have factors like dense cities and droughts that create enormous pressure. This is exactly why we need a system, a public service, to manage this precious resource for everybody.
All right, now let's turn our attention to another absolute cornerstone of a thriving society: our health.
Public health services cover such an incredible range. I mean, we're talking about everything from these highly complex, life-saving surgeries to the daily care and comfort that's provided right at a patient's bedside. The goal is always to build a healthy nation by both preventing and curing illnesses.
And here is the proof of the incredible impact that a dedicated public health system can have: the complete eradication of malaria.
That is a monumental achievement, something even the World Health Organization recognized. It's a powerful testament to what can happen with organized, collective public health efforts.
So, we've looked at the what, the why, the history, and a couple of really concrete examples. Let's zoom the camera back out and summarize the core principles that tie all of these different services together.
When you boil it all down, these are really the defining features, right? Public services are meant to be for everyone. Their main goal is the public's well-being, not making a profit. They're all about improving our quality of life, making sure they're accessible even if you don't have a lot of money, and fulfilling our most basic human needs. And of course, it all has to operate under a clear set of rules and regulations.
And that brings us to our final thought. The services we have today were designed for the needs of the past, but as technology, our climate, and society itself keep changing, what new services are going to become essential? What will that invisible network of tomorrow even look like?